sports media station. Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indie Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indie Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indie Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X__Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indie Sports Ticket app, or of course, 1430 AM if you're driving around the Indianapolis area. Zack Gray, ZG the Grapevine on X, is joining me in an hour. He's going to have just a ton of bets. We're going to talk the loaded college football slate this weekend. I've got the Ryder Cup on in front of me right now. It is truly one of the most elite sports weekends we've had in quite some time. And it's awesome. I am all about it. So I am, of course, going to open with the Indianapolis Colts. And I've been wrong on the Colts. I thought they were going to be very average, 7 to 9 wins. They are so clearly better than that. And hearing everyone else, and by everyone else, I mean people not in Indianapolis, hearing all these non-Indy people talk about the Colts, it really just pisses me off. It does. Because they are acting as if this Colts team isn't very good. And I don't want to be the guy that says that every game for Daniel Jones and the Colts is a prove-it game. But this feels like another prove-it game for the Indianapolis Colts. But it's a little bit different from those first three. You know, week one, they're playing a bad Dolphins team. And in order for people to have any sort of respect for the Colts, they needed to beat the Dolphins in week one. And they do that. They win 33-8. They look amazing. And then week two, it's like, all right, Dolphins aren't very good. Can you beat the Broncos, who everyone expected to be really good this year? And they do. Get a little lucky with the leverage call, but the reality of that game is they scored more than 30 points against a defense that everyone expects to be great this year. And everyone's like, you got lucky. Can you beat the Titans? It's like, yeah, we can beat the Titans. We can hang 40 on them and beat them by 3 touchdowns. That is what the Colts have done so far, and there are still people not on board with this Indianapolis Colts team. Like, I don't really know. I do. They're a good football team. They have looked great in these first 3 games. Bad teams do not look that good 3 weeks in a row. Okay? With that being said, I can kind of understand the holdup. They're 3-0. The teams that they've beaten have a combined record of 1-8. The Dolphins and the Titans are in a race to see who's going to get the number 1 overall pick. I do think that the Denver Broncos will figure it out, but they don't look great to start the season, right? You know, Bo Nix hasn't really played well aside from the game against the Colts. That defense has had some injuries, all that kind of stuff. But still, the Colts have dominated bad teams, and the one good team that they played, they won. And people are like, I don't know. Go beat the Rams, and then I'll believe. The Rams are a legitimately good football team. The Rams could be 3-0. You know, if they just do a better job of blocking Jordan Davis on that game-winning field goal attempt against the Eagles, then they're 3-0. Matthew Stafford is elite. He is by far the best quarterback the Colts have played thus far. It's the first time that Daniel Jones might get outplayed, because Daniel Jones was better than Tua, Cam Ward, and Bo Nix in those first 3 games. Okay, that's just a fact. And when your quarterback outperforms the opposing team's quarterback, you have a great chance to win the game. Okay? So when I say this is a prove-it game for the Colts, it's a little bit different. This is a chance for the Colts to silence the haters. Like, just the the murmurs that this Colts thing isn't real are just absurd. Like I heard Rich Eisen yesterday compare the Colts 3-0 start to the 2021 Carolina Panthers, who started 3-0 with Sam Darnold as their starting quarterback. No one wants to give the Colts credit for starting 3-0. Okay? They started 2-0, the Colts did, and people compared them to the 2024 Saints, who finished 5-12. Now they're being compared to the 3-0 2021 Carolina Panthers, who finished the year 5-12. That is just utterly absurd. Like, just go back and compare the rosters. Like, go and compare the 2024 Derek Carr-led New Orleans Saints that had a bad defense and a bad offensive line and nowhere near as good the weapons that the Colts have. Please go compare that roster to the 2025 Indianapolis Colts. Please go compare the 2021 Carolina Panthers, who finished 5-12. That's Sam Darnold pre his Minnesota Vikings phase. That Panthers defense was not very good. They were coached by Matt Rule, who's no longer coaching in the NFL. Please, like just take 30 seconds and compare the two teams. And I think these non-Indianapolis people that aren't taking the Colts seriously will very quickly realize the differences between the Colts and these other teams that have ended up being bad after hot starts. Once again, I didn't think the Colts would be very good this year. Okay? I thought that they'd float around 500. But when you watch the games and you see the way that the Colts have run the football, when you see the way that Daniel Jones has run the offense and managed it and made every single throw, it is clear that the Indianapolis Colts have a good football team. Will they regress? Absolutely. The Colts are not going to play at this level all year. They're not going to average one punt every 3 games. Jonathan Taylor isn't going to consistently run for over 100 yards a game like he has in the first 3. Daniel Jones is eventually going to turn the football over. All of these things are true. Like, yes, the Colts will regress at some point during the season, but they have the bones of a good offense. They have a good secondary when they're healthy. Must I continue? Like this is clearly a good football team. They've got good players in the middle of their defense with DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. They are a well-coached team on both sides of the football. Shane Steichen is a good coach. Lou Anarumo has a reputation as one of the best defensive coordinators in football, and he's lived up to it thus far. Even when they regress, because it's going to happen, even when they regress, they're still going to be a good team. Like, honestly, I expect for the Colts to double their punt total in this game, but they're still going to put up points. The Colts right now remind me of a Major League Baseball hitter, who starts the year and he comes out and he's hitting like 450 2 weeks into the season. And there are some guys who they come out to start the year and they hit 450 and you can tell that they're a good hitter. Right? Like you can tell, based off the swing, how they manage the strike zone, how many walks they take. You can tell that they're a good hitter. And even though they're a good hitter, you know that they're not going to hit 450 all year. And then they regress and they hit 300. And you say, that guy is a good hitter, even though his batting average dropped by 150 points over the course of the season. And then there are other hitters who start the year and they're hitting 450 2 weeks into the season, but you can tell that the guy's got a hole in his swing. You can tell that his hands cast a little bit, so he's going to struggle to hit the inside fastball. He's just gotten lucky. He's seen a lot of hanging breaking balls to start the season. And so that guy is going to regress and hit 230. because the bones of the swing aren't very good. The bones of the Colts are great. I don't know about great. The bones of the Colts are good. Okay, they're like a 450 hitter who's going to finish the season hitting 300. Even because the Colts, the offense is going to come back down to earth a little bit, but the bones of it are so good that they are going to continue to find success. That's the reality of it. Because like Daniel Jones isn't going to make every throw all season long. Daniel Jones is going to turn the football over at some point. Okay, the 47 interceptions, through his career tell you that. The fact that his 17-game average of interceptions is 11 tells you that he's going to turn the football over and make a bad mistake at some point. Hey, now hopefully in this new system, it's a little better, and those bad throws don't occur as often, and that's what it looks like right now. Jonathan Taylor's going to fumble the football at some point this year. Jonathan Taylor is going to have a game where he averages like 3 yards a carry. It's going to happen. Guys are going to get hurt. And when all those things happen, the Colts offense will still be effective. It will still be effective because the bones of it are really good. They can run the football. Okay, like they're one of the best rushing teams in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor playing better than any other running back in the NFL right now. Tanner Bortolini and Matt Gonsalves, who was hurt, didn't practice yesterday, but is out of the boot. They've both just been awesome, right? And the Colts have just lined the football up and ran it all over everybody. So when you can run the football, it's hard for me to believe that you're just all of a sudden not going to score points. Okay, Daniel Jones has a nice array of weapons to throw the football to. Okay, Josh Downs is excellent in the slot, even though he's gotten off to a slow start this season. Michael Pittman Jr. is on pace to break double-digit touchdown receptions for the first time in his career. Big-bodied guy. I think he's going to have a really nice day on Sunday against the Rams, just because the Rams have smaller corners, and I just think it's a favorable matchup for him. Right? But he's a really good wide receiver. Alec Pierce, who isn't going to play on Sunday, but this is another guy who's capable of making big plays down the field. And he's a guy who, has improved his game, runs better routes, can do more than just run in a straight line now. A.D. Mitchell, right, when he's playing, is a really good player, or a very talented player, who looks like he might have a really good year this year. We'll see. He's going to get more snaps on Sunday, and we'll have an idea about what his year is going to look like after that happens. Tyler Warren has been one of the best tight ends in football from the moment that he showed up. Okay, like this is a very good, very talented Colts offense that doesn't really have any holes. Shane Steichen, excellent play caller. Okay, like you hear a lot of people say that. I think it's true. We can go back to last year and talk about the trick plays in the really bad spots. My question would be, did Shane Steichen make those calls because Anthony Richardson was his quarterback and he didn't want Anthony Richardson to throw the football? I think it's a fair question. So if you have questions about the Colts, it shouldn't be about Daniel Jones and this offense. If you have questions and you want to say the Colts are going to fall off, it's not because of the offense. Because the offense has everything it needs to be successful. Good offensive line, good play caller. They can run the football, and Daniel Jones is in a system that seems to complement him very well. If you want to question the Colts, the question should be about the defense. I have raised many questions about this Indianapolis Colts defense. I don't trust the run defense. The linebackers, I don't think, are very good. The secondary is incredibly banged up. All of these things are true. And if you want to tell me that's why the Colts are going to struggle this year, then okay. Like that's a reasonable argument. But to just sit here and keep on saying, hey, Daniel Jones is going to regress, like it's just a fact, even though we've seen him be awesome through these first 3 weeks, and I do think it's fair to question whether or not he's going to regress, right? But like the question is how far? I don't think it's going to be to a point where the Colts just stop scoring points. Look, they had oh man, were they I'm pretty sure they had a top 10 scoring offense last year with Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco playing quarterback. I know it's only been 3 games, but I think Daniel Jones has proven that he's a better quarterback than than Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco were last year. This offense is going to be fine. They're going to score points on Sunday, even if they punt a little bit more often than what they have compared to the first couple weeks, or excuse me, the first 3 weeks of the season. Okay. The defense, not super convinced. We'll see. But the Colts Rams, it is one of the best games of the weekend on a weekend that is just loaded with amazing sporting events. The Ryder Cup, it's going on right now. I've got it up on the TV. Scotty Scheffler just freaking dropped one right on the green. What a shot. I wish I could do that. And then, a great college football slate tomorrow that really starts tonight. TCU and Arizona State. Fascinating game as far as I'm concerned. And Zack Gray is going to join me at 11 o'clock. He's going to have a ton of bets for all of these games. And then we're also going to talk a little bit of NFL stuff as well. Indiana, they're playing Iowa tomorrow. I can't wait. I think that is a very underrated football game. And I am excited to watch Indiana go on the road for the first time this year and play an Iowa team that is good, not great. We know the strengths of Iowa. We know the weaknesses of Iowa. They're like every other Iowa team in the history of Iowa football. Strong defensively, a lot of questions about the offense with a really good offensive line. So that game should be intriguing. I think it's one of the more underrated games on Saturday. But once again, when you look at the slate, there's a lot of really good games. So Indiana, Iowa, why that should be a win for IU in 4 minutes.
may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X, __ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM if you're driving around the Indianapolis area. Woo! Excuse me. On a beautiful Friday here in this great state. Zack Gray is going to join the show at 11 with bets and many, many takes. He'll be on for a while, so you don't want to miss that. I promise. He is an excellent, excellent guest who bets very, very well, especially the world of college football. So he's joining here in about 40 minutes, and we are, of course, going to talk about Indiana and Iowa. Indiana should win this football game. They are very simply the better of the two teams. They are significantly better on offense than Iowa. Although the offensive line of Iowa has been the best in all of college football to start the season, according to PFF. When you can run the football, you can beat anybody. It's the reality of it. Why did Florida State beat Alabama week 1? Because they could run the football whenever they wanted. And Indiana has to be sure that Iowa can't just run the football. And Indiana has to be sure that they don't turn the football over. If they stop the run and they don't turn the ball over, Indiana should cruise. And they should cover the 7.5-point spread with relative ease. Because that's how Iowa beats teams. They run the football and they generate turnovers, or they have a kickoff return for a touchdown like they did against Rutgers. Right? Like that's how they win games. Like as good, and this is to me, the really interesting part of this game of tomorrow. As good as the Iowa offensive line has been, I don't think they've seen a front like Indiana's. If the Indiana defensive line has their way like they did against Illinois, then they will absolutely roll like they did against Illinois. That's just the reality of it. Like the reason why Indiana was so dominant last week is because they controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football in a way that we didn't even see them do last year. And if they do that again on Saturday, on the road against a good Iowa team, once again, good Iowa team, not a great one, then they should roll. Okay? I'm excited to see how the offense performs against this Iowa defense. And like that is the one thing that I expect for Iowa to do well. I expect them to find a way to generate some stops. I don't think Indiana's hanging 63 on Iowa. Although I don't think it'd be the most surprising thing in the world. So while I do think Indiana cruises Saturday, I do think we finally see them struggle a little bit offensively for the first time since they played Old Dominion. Okay? But the reality of this is Indiana is one of the 10 best teams in the country, and Iowa is not. The only way that they're winning, the only way they're losing this football game is if they give it away. Dumb penalties, turnovers, bad special teams. Which makes me believe that they're not going to lose this game. Because my favorite thing about Coach Cignetti at Indiana is his teams do not beat themselves. They don't commit dumb penalties. They don't turn the football over. They don't give up big plays defensively very often. And if they do, it's never because of a coverage bust or anything like that. It's because the opposing team, calls a screen and they catch Indiana in a blitz, or they're playing Ohio State and Jeremiah Smith is just the best player on the field. Upsets happen to teams that are undisciplined. And the Indiana Hoosiers under Coach Cignetti are definitely not undisciplined. I expect them to play a very clean football game, and I expect for them to roll because in the very short amount of time that Coach Cignetti has been in Bloomington, that is the standard that he has set. They do not beat themselves. When they lost to Ohio State and Notre Dame last year, it was very simply because Ohio State and Notre Dame were better than they were. That's the reality of it. And the two games on their schedule that they could lose, Oregon and Penn State, I believe that because Oregon and Penn State appear to be better than Indiana is. That's just the very simple reality of it, right? So don't turn it over, don't commit bad penalties, and don't give up big plays. If they do those three things, then they are going to have they're going to be just fine going forward against this against this Iowa team, and then we can get ready for a big matchup in Eugene, Oregon on Saturday. So can't wait for it. Like once again, the Saturday slate. I mean, I'm going to go through it at some point today, but I can't wait. I want to bounce back to the Indianapolis Colts and talk about this matchup against the Rams. Talk about clean games. The injuries for the Colts and Rams, not very many. Kenny Moore and Alec Pierce didn't practice again yesterday. That is unsurprising. Okay, like they are very likely not going to play. Kenny Moore has basically already been ruled out with the Achilles issue. Alec Pierce working his way through concussion protocol. It's really tough to get a concussion and then not miss a game. That's the reality of it. Like, it's so hard to do in the NFL now. They're taking these brain injuries very seriously, as they should. Okay, so Alec Pierce probably not going to play, but so they'll both be missed. Matt Gonsalves opened the week in a boot. Wednesday he was at practice, didn't practice because he was in a boot. He didn't practice again yesterday, but he's out of the boot. So there's a little glimmer of hope there. The Colts need him to play because he's been so good to start the year, especially in pass protection. That's very normal. Like, your offensive tackles tend to be guys who pass protect well, and then your guards are the athletic dudes who can get out, run, pull block, and do those things. Matt Gonsalves played tackle before this. Okay, like that's what he did. He played offensive tackle. And so it's not surprising to see him find the success in pass protection. And the Colts need that this week in a bad way against this Rams front because they get after you, man. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Byron Young, just a nasty group of pass rushers. And Danny Pinter is not a bad player, but there's a reason why the Colts looked at their roster, looked at Matt Gonsalves and said, yeah, we would rather move you to right guard than start Danny Pinter. There's a reason for that. So Danny Pinter, not a bad player. I think you can survive with him for a week, but there's a reason why he's a backup. That's just the very simple reality of it. For the Rams, Davante Adams didn't practice again. He's got a hamstring issue. Seems like he's expected to play. And they're just being cautious, older player, been around, hamstrings are weird. And so it seems like they're just being cautious with him, but I'd be very surprised if Davante Adams didn't play. Davante Adams is a very, very smart guy, and you just know that he's sitting over there licking his chops, being like, I'm going to get Xavier Howard on me. I got to play this week. So I'm assuming that that's how he feels, but seems like he's expected to play. The issue for the Rams is up front for them. They have some injuries up front. Their left guard and right tackle are both dealing with injuries. Their left guard has practiced this week, but he's been limited, and there is some concern as to whether or not he's really going to be ready to play or not. And then you've got the right tackle who hasn't practiced all week. He's kind of hanging out, but I think there's a little more hope that that he's going to play, just a little bit of an older player that they're being very cautious with. And, the reality is the healthier team in the NFL usually wins. And both of these teams are pretty healthy. And I'm excited for the opportunity that Adonai Mitchell is going to have on Sunday. This is a guy that the Colts used a top 50 pick on. This is a guy coming out of Texas that talented enough to be a first-round pick, but he slipped a little bit. And we saw why he slipped a little bit last year. Giving up on routes, not being willing to make plays through contact. And he comes out this year in training camp, and we just hear all these stories about how great A.D. Mitchell was during training camp. Like, do you remember the cycle or the news cycle after the Baltimore Ravens joint practice? It's like, oh, A.D. Mitchell having a day, just tearing up the Ravens secondary. Oh, my A.D. Mitchell. Oh my goodness. Look at this clip of these one-on-ones and all this kind of stuff. And then first and foremost, we find out that the Baltimore Ravens secondary is not very good. It's terrible. It is straight up booty cheeks.
Booty cheeks.
And to start the season. So maybe that was part of it. But I'm just excited to kind of see him in year 2 finally get a lot of snaps. He's been used sparingly in these first 3 games. And it makes sense, right? Because Alec Pierce had a really good year last year, and Josh Downs is a really good slot player, and Michael Pittman Jr. on the other side is playing really well. So I'm excited to see A.D. Mitchell and how he deals with it. If Matt Gonsalves doesn't play, that to me is a significant issue, just because of this Rams front. But this is the reality of the NFL. And you're not going to be healthy all year, and you have to find ways to win even when you're not healthy. And this is why football is, to me, in part, the ultimate team game, because you suffer injuries more in football than any other sport. Every guy on your 53-man roster is likely going to have an opportunity to make a positive impact on your team at some point during this season. So big game for the Colts, another opportunity to silence the haters, and it is just one of many parts of a great sports weekend. I am watching the Ryder Cup right now, and yeah, it's great. Love watching the Ryder Cup. And then tomorrow we have an awesome slate of college football games. Obviously, IU and Iowa at 3:30. Can't wait for that game. Notre Dame plays my Arkansas Razorbacks tomorrow at noon. Congratulations on your second win in a row, Notre Dame fans. But when we come back here in about 4 minutes, I'm going to get into the gambling aspect of this because Zack Gray is joining the show at 11, and he's going to have a ton of bets. So I'm going to give you my bets for both college football and the NFL when we come back in 4 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Zack Gray joining me here in about 20 minutes. We're going to talk college football, the NFL, everything going on, because it's just an awesome weekend. Got the Ryder Cup going on in front of me right now while I do the show, and it's just fun, man. Love the Ryder Cup. Just an excellent event to watch, and just, yeah, like it's a bucket list. I don't know if it's a bucket list thing. It is a near bucket list thing. Let's go with that. To be able to get up and watch the Ryder Cup live one day, but the NFL, it's happening Sunday, and I've got 5 bets as I do every Friday. First one, we'll get it out of the way here pretty quickly because it's a pretty simple bet. I'm taking the Chargers minus 6.5 against the Giants. I love the idea of betting against Jackson Dart in his first career start against this Los Angeles Chargers defense, easily one of the 10 best defenses in football. Plus, no one, I don't know about no one, very few, if any, people are playing the quarterback position as well as Justin Herbert is right now. The dude's just been a stud from the start of the season. And I'm not betting against that dude right now. Rookie quarterback, first career start against this defense. I don't know how you don't bet the Chargers this week. Give me them minus 6.5. I feel like this is a 10-point win, and we'll kind of see how things go from there with the Chargers. But I think they're playing the best football of any team in the NFL right now, like that, and I firmly believe that. So give me the Chargers minus 6.5 on the road against the Giants. My next bet, I am taking the Commanders minus 1.5 on the road against the Falcons. And this is very simply a bet against former Hoosier Michael Penix Jr. He has struggled mightily, might I add, to start the season. They lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers week 1, 23-20. He doesn't play very well. 27 of 42. That's okay. That's a 64% completion percentage for 298 yards. It's only 7 yards per attempt. 1 touchdown, no picks, sacked once. Also had a rushing touchdown to his credit. Week 2, we get a little bit worse. But hey, you're on the road, you're playing the Vikings, good defense. He goes 13-21 in a win, 22-6. He goes 13-21 for 135 yards, completes 62% of his passes, no touchdowns, no picks, sacked 3 times with a quarterback rating of 28.5. It's not very good. But hey, they won, right? So tough to question, and he looked nowhere near as badly as J.J. McCarthy looked in that primetime game. And then last Sunday, he hits rock bottom. They go on the road to play a bad Carolina Panthers team who ranked last in like everything on defense until they played Michael Penix, who was 18 of 36. That's a 50% completion percentage for my math majors out there. He threw the ball for 172 yards, less than 5 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, 2 picks, 1 horrific pick 6. So I'm betting against Michael Penix Jr. Give me the Commanders minus 1.5. Decent chance that Jaden Daniels plays this week. Even if he doesn't, Marcus Mariota looked pretty good against the Raiders last week. Falcons defense might be better than the Raiders. Even if it is, I don't think there's a significant leap there. So give me the Commanders minus 1.5 on the road against the Falcons. Chiefs are plus 2.5 against the Ravens. And there's a rule on the Real Jonathan Smith Show when we bet the NFL. When Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are getting points, you take them. When the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are getting points at home, you take them. And that is 1,000% what I am doing here. I am taking the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes at home as underdogs every single time. You say, well, Jonathan, didn't you do that earlier in the year when the Chiefs were home dogs to the Ravens? Yes, I did. Jonathan, did that bet hit? No, it did not. I do not care if Travis Kelce doesn't drop a pass that he's caught 100 times before, then you feel pretty good about it. Then, the Eagles probably don't cover. They may still win the football game, but they don't cover the 4.5 point spread like they did in that game. So give me the Chiefs at home. That game to me is absolutely fascinating. You could argue it is the most intriguing matchup of 1 and 2 teams ever. The idea of the Chiefs or Ravens starting the year 1 and 3 is really weird. And then you throw in the fact that this Chiefs offense has really struggled. The Ravens defense has really struggled. And that seems to kind of be where this game is going to be decided. The game is going to be decided by how Patrick Mahomes plays. I like the bet even more. I expect for the Ravens to score because the Chiefs defense has been okay, not great, certainly not to the level that we expect, but still, give me the Chiefs plus 2.5. When Mahomes is getting points, I'm taking them. Next bet here, Bears, Raiders. Give me the Bears plus 1.5. Caleb Williams has played so well, or he's played well to start the year. Okay. He had a bad half in prime time, week 1, first game with a new system and a new head coach, and everyone freaked out. Everyone freaked out. I don't know, Caleb Williams bust. The Bears shouldn't have taken him number 1 overall. So I don't know. He had a bad half week 1 with a new coach. It happens sometimes. And then week 2, he was a little bit better. Even though they lost, he was still a little bit better against a really good Lions team that hung 52 on the Bears. Everyone's like, Caleb Williams. I don't know. Bears defense gave up 52. I don't think it mattered how good or bad Caleb Williams played that week. And then last week, they play the Cowboys, and Caleb Williams goes nuts. 298 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no picks, NFC Offensive Player of the Week, all of those things. And the story wasn't, Caleb Williams finally played well. Nope. The story instead was, man, the Cowboys suck, which I think is, true, but you still have to play well, right? And he did. And this week, they're playing another bad secondary. The Raiders secondary isn't great. I think Caleb Williams has another good game, and the Bears pick up their second win of the season, and they definitely cover that plus 1.5. And then last bet, 5th bet of the week, give me the Packers minus 6.5 on the road against the Cowboys. Sunday Night Football. CeeDee Lamb is out. He's the biggest weapon they have. Dak Prescott is obviously the most important guy in that Cowboys offense, but he doesn't have his best receiver. The second most important part of their offense. I think, they do have George Pickens, but he was supposed to be a complimentary guy to CeeDee Lamb, not the main guy. So I think the Cowboys offense struggles without their best skill player against a great Packers defense. I think Michael Parsons has a really big day, at least 1 sack. Jordan Love, who struggled a bit against the Browns, who have a good defense, by the way. He struggled a bit against the Browns. He's excited to play the Cowboys this week to get back right. That is who this Cowboys defense is this year. They are the get back right defense. Shout out to Matt Eberflus for setting it up that way. So I think it's a big passing day for Jordan Love. And I think that without CeeDee Lamb, this, Dallas Cowboys offense really sputters. To close out the NFL bets, it's time for the Kirk Cousins bets of the week. For those unfamiliar, we take a road underdog on the money line every week because Kirk Cousins said this last year.
Walk into your trap, take over your trap, was the line he would say. You go into someone else's stadium and you try to assert yourself.
You go on the road into someone else's stadium and you try to assert yourself. Our Kirk Cousins bet of the week. Road dog has to be a road dog. We're taking him on the money line. Give me the Bears on the money line. Caleb Williams played really well to start the year. He had a bad half in prime time. Everyone freaked out. He's a good player. He's going to play well again this week. Raiders secondary, it's not great. I think he has another good game, and the Bears improve to 2-2, and the narrative around them completely and totally flips. College football, loaded slate. Zack Gray is going to join me at 11 to talk about it. And when I say loaded, there's like 10 games that are all worth watching. So we're going to start in the noon hour. USC plays Illinois. Give me USC minus 6.5. USC is good. Lincoln Riley and his offense are going to score points. I have major questions about Illinois after they got trounced by Indiana last week. Give me the Trojans to go on the road into Illinois, grab a big win, and cover. I think they just outscore Illinois. That's my expectation. Another noon game that is worthy of keeping your eye on. Notre Dame is going on the road to play my Arkansas Razorbacks. Okay? Grew up a Razorback fan. If I was betting the spread, I would take Notre Dame minus 4.5, but I'm not betting the spread. I'm going to do something I rarely do. I'm betting the total. Give me over 63.5 points. Both teams can really score the football. Arkansas is 2-2. It's not because they can't score points. Their defense, I don't think that they could stop a peewee team. Like, legitimately, the defense is horrendous. I know the expectation under Marcus Freeman is for the Notre Dame defense to be good. They've gotten off to a slow start, though. I love this over. I think both teams easily break 30, and it really wouldn't surprise me if Notre Dame broke 40 against this Razorback defense. Notre Dame versus Arkansas, give me the over. Indiana, give me them minus 7.5 against Iowa. One of three really interesting 3:30 games. I know that winning on the road in college football is hard. I know that Iowa is a tough place to play, and I know that Iowa's defense is good. Mark Gronowski was supposed to be the answer at quarterback. He has not been that. I don't trust the offense. Give me Indiana minus 7.5. I think they win this game by at least 10. At least. Wouldn't surprise me if it was by like 17. I just don't think that Iowa's going to have the offense to keep up with this Indiana football team. I think I'm really excited, again, to see Fernando Mendoza against this defense. Give me Indiana minus 7.5. Another 3:30 game worth looking at here. Ohio State versus Washington. I'm going to take Washington plus 8.5. I don't love this game, but I do give out bets for all of the big college football games every week. So I do think this is a big one. Washington plus 8.5 because it's Julian Sayin, Ohio State quarterback. It's his first career road start. And Washington's an incredibly tough place to play. They've lost one home game since 2021. Seriously, like, they can score points. I'm excited to see them play. This Ohio State defense might be the best in the country. So very intriguing matchup there between the Washington offense and the Ohio State defense. But I do think Julian Sayin struggles a bit. Ohio State still wins, but Washington covers the 8.5 points. LSU, they are road dogs against Ole Miss. Ole Miss, tough place to play. They're swapping quarterbacks. I'm taking LSU. I think they are much improved from last year. They have an excellent defense. Garrett Nussmeier struggled a bit against Florida, but Florida's defense is good. The issue is, DJ Lagway hasn't been good. Their defense, Florida's, it's better than Ole Miss. Give me LSU plus 1.5. I think they win outright. So give me LSU. Auburn, they play Texas A&M. Give me Texas A&M minus 6.5. Auburn, definitely better than they were last year. Lost a tough road game last week to Oklahoma. Now they're going to A&M. Kyle Field, really tough place to play. I think this is the year that Texas A&M finally capitalizes on their potential. Mike Elko's a good coach. They got a big win over Notre Dame on the road. It'd be the most A&M thing ever for them to lose this game after beating Notre Dame. But I think they're different this year. Marcel Reed is an experienced quarterback. I think Mike Elko is a better coach than Jimbo Fisher. The defense has struggled. Mike Elko, though, defensive-minded head coach. I think he makes some tweaks, and that he kind of starts to fix a defense that struggled, to be fair, against a really good Notre Dame offense. Alabama, they're 2.5-point dogs on the road against Georgia. Give me Alabama. Everyone hopped off the Alabama train when Kalen DeBoer lost a road game to a really good Florida State team. Kalen DeBoer is undefeated against Dan Lanning, Kirby Smart, and Steve Sarkisian, three of the best football coaches in all of college football. The Georgia defense is not the same caliber as it was when they were competing and winning national titles. Gunnar Stockton is a gamer, but that's not always enough to win. I think Alabama is more talented. I think Coach DeBoer is going to have stuff ready for Georgia, and they're going to be incredibly up for this game to kind of prove to people that Alabama hasn't gone anywhere. Okay? Give me the Crimson Tide to go on the road to Georgia, cover the 2.5, and probably win outright. Oregon, they're playing Penn State, probably the biggest game of the day, 7:30, prime time. Going to be an awesome game. Give me Oregon plus 3.5. I am wary of this bet because it seems like a lot of people like Oregon plus 3.5. I just have questions about Penn State, a very similar team to last year, but they're missing their two best players from last year. Tyler Warren is here in Indianapolis doing great things. Abdul Carter is in New York playing for the Giants, 3rd overall pick. Those are two major losses. I don't love Drew Aller. I think Oregon has the better coach. I think they have the better quarterback in Dante Moore. And I think both defenses are terrific. Give me Oregon plus 3.5 on the road against Penn State. Those are my bets. I will go over a lot of them again with Zack Gray when he joins the show in about 4.5 minutes.
do this. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X__ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And after you download the app, head back over to X and follow our current guest, Zack Gray, at ZG the Grapevine on X. An excellent sports gambler. If you check out the link in his bio, it'll take you to his Patreon, where he sells tools to help you make better bets. Zach, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, Smith, I'm at home for the first time, I feel like, in a while doing this. So I'm in my my humble abode, ready to talk some college football. And real quick, if you're listening to this out there, send me a DM, ZG the Grapevine on X. I'll throw you a bone. That's all I'll say.
Okay. All right. Love it. Are you watching the Ryder Cup by chance?
No, I probably will not watch a single shot of golf this weekend. And I know that there's people, oh, it's great, the Ryder Cup, yada, 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 whatever. I want to see, 48 counter on a Friday night and a Florida State game and a TCU game. That's what I'll be doing.
Totally fair. I just like having something on during the show to kind of glance at. So golf is perfect for that. As always, we're going to start with a little bit of sharp versus square. So Zach and I competing this year. He's the sharp. I'm the square with our picks in both the NFL and college football. Zack Gray leads the way in the college football gambling. He's 2-0 on the year. I am 0-2. But I'm making up a little bit of ground in the NFL. I am 2-0. Zack Gray 1-1 after last week. Let's start with college football, as we all.
Are I 2-1?
You said what?
I lost the. I think I'm 3-1 because I lost the South Carolina game.
We've only done it twice, correct? Let me go back.
I think we've done it 4 of the 5 weeks because there was 1 week where we didn't do it. I know I have 1 loss. I lost the South Carolina game.
Yeah. Let me just give me your bet for this week. And while you're doing that, I will go back to last week and I will double check and make sure I am correct.
Yeah, this week I am actually going to root against my hometown team. I know that there's a lot of people that really like Kansas this year, and you can throw me on that train here as well. I'm taking Kansas -4.5 at home against Cincinnati. This just feels kind of like last week when I gave out Memphis. It just kind of feels like a spot where Cincinnati's going to get their doors blown off by Kansas. I think people are enamored with Kansas right now, but I don't think people have fully bought in. I'm there. I think they're going to make a run at the Big 12. And I think Cincinnati is just not as good a team as anybody thinks, even though expectations are still low. I think they're a 6-6 football team. So, yeah, give me Kansas -4.5.
Kansas -4.5. So you were correct. You were 2-1 in college football. I'm 0-3. The first week we did this, the NFL hadn't started yet. So we're 1 game behind there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Jay Smith. And we don't have to fight about this like we do everything else. I could have sworn we've done four picks, but you're right actually, now that I think about it.
Okay.
I hate to admit that, but you're right.
Oh, good. It doesn't happen very often, so I'll take what I can get. Because you missed a week because you were doing something for work.
Yeah. So if Memphis was last week, South Carolina was the week before that. I missed the week, and then there was the opening Ohio State. So you're right.
Yes. You said you were taking Kansas minus what? I didn't get it typed down. I was looking at a different doc.
-4.5. Kansas
-4.5. Love that bet. I'm torn, man. I've got. There's 2 that I really like. But I can't do that bet. I can't do it. I'm going to take USC -6.5 on the road against Illinois. I like USC. Like they're going to score a bunch of points. I've got a lot of questions about Illinois after last week. Like I think a lot of people do. Just the offense for Illinois hasn't been great. They struggled in that first half against Duke. I trust Lincoln Riley to definitely score points, so I'm going to take USC minus 6.5.
That can't be that bad, right? Like that had to be an anomaly last week. You would think, right? For Illinois?
I would like to think so, but like 7 sacks and averaging 0.1 yards per carry. Like there's anomalies where like teams struggle, and then there's that. I don't know, man.
I guess, but I mean, I think about I have a hard time right now. I'm comparing this year's Illinois team to last year's Nebraska team.
Okay.
I feel like they share some similarities. And like, if you remember, like Nebraska kind of got shellacked by Indiana last year, and they ended up not being a terrible team.
True. I mean, they went 6-6.
Yeah, but I feel like if we think they're that bad, Illinois might not win another game.
I don't know if they're that bad. Like, do they play Purdue at some point? If so, like, there's a win for them. Joined by Zack Gray, as EG the Grapevine on X, professional sports gambler. If you click the link in his bio over on X, it'll take you to his Patreon where he sells tools to help you make better bets. We'll see, man. And the other part of this is like if you lose to like Ohio State or Oregon or Penn State, 63-10, like that's one thing. While I do think Indiana is better than they were last year, I don't think that they're to that level quite yet. And to lose like that, like I get that it's on the road, but to lose like that against what I would deem a second tier college football team, that's kind of concerning.
Yeah, and I do think USC is at least good enough to be relevant again. I don't think I'm ready to put them in the playoff conversation yet. But I do think USC is probably better than Illinois. That's a tricky line. I think my model has it somewhere around 6.
Okay.
If you're going to take USC, you want to take it under that 7 mark. But yeah, that's an interesting take by you.
So I either wanted that one or I was going to take the over in the Notre Dame Arkansas game, which is set at 63.5. Notre Dame is surprisingly only a 4.5 point favorite. I figured it'd be closer to 6.5. I think both defenses have really struggled. And by the way, I've locked in the USC pick, so I'm not going to switch. But the take was just both defenses have been really bad, even though Arkansas has lost 2 absolute heartbreakers. They've scored points, except for the second half against Memphis for some reason. And the Notre Dame defense, like I said, hasn't been great. And I think that their offense has looked pretty good with CJ Carr.
I find it kind of crazy that the line is what it is. Like,
me too.
I had this same feeling, and I was very wrong about it last week with Illinois and Indiana. I stayed away from it, though. The line here just doesn't make sense, which scares me that the Hogs are going to win this somehow.
It'd be the most Arkansas thing ever. It would be. And so I hope they don't. I'm so ready to be done with Sam Pittman, but we don't have to talk about that. No one in Indiana cares about the Arkansas head coaching position. They do care.
And neither do I.
Yeah. They do care though about Indiana going on the road to play Iowa. What do you kind of think about Indiana after that really weird game against Illinois that no one really saw coming?
I just don't know how you can say, like, I heard Coach Cignetti say, like, it's going to be a tougher test. Is it? Like, I don't really know if we're going to see anything different. I don't think they win 63-10, but I'm pretty sure Indiana blows them out. Right?
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I was talking to Shehan Jayaraja. He works for CBS, does a really good job covering college football. He agrees with us. He thinks Indiana cruises, but he did say that he feels like the strengths of Iowa match up better against Indiana than what Illinois' strengths were, which I watched that Illinois game. I was like, do they have any strengths? And so that was kind of his point, and that's why he thinks the line is where it is. But I was really hoping that Mark Gronowski would be the guy to kind of snap the Iowa quarterback woes. He's not, and that's really kind of my issue. Like, they probably don't score 63 because I do think that Iowa's defense is good, but I just don't know how they're going to score enough points.
So the Iowa quarterback thing, like, at this point, it's definitely just coaching, right? Like,
Yes.
Gronowski should be good. He won the Heisman for the FCS level. He's not some trash can. Like, we have to stop. Like, the Iowa quarterback curse is a coaching thing.
Completely agree. Absolutely.
And I've argued with people, and they're like, no, they just can't recruit well. They can't get, they're not able to recruit at the level that they need to. It's like, no, like, maybe they aren't going to get a 5-star quarterback, but like, they've had some people that have been like decently ranked out of high school, and then now the portal, and they all look the same.
Yeah.
They literally look like clones of each other every year. It's the same guy, just a different name, a different build.
Yeah, and it's just we'll see how it goes, but like, I'm really hoping I can turn that game off at halftime, because the 3:30 slate, like, oh my gosh, like, LSU is a 1.5-point dog to Ole Miss, which I found very surprising. I think Auburn, Texas A&M gets incredibly weird. Ohio State should beat Washington, but Washington can score. Julian Sainz, first real road start, all those things come into play a little bit. Like, the 3:30 slate is awesome. You can take any one of those 3 games, and we can run with them.
Yeah, so for Ole Miss LSU, I'll give out another play here. This won't be sharp square, but I just think this is Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is the side. I'm taking them on the money line. I think we are going to see the running game issues pop up for LSU. I know that they're in the hundreds in rushing, and that was a big storyline coming into the season where, are they going to be able to actually run the ball this season? Looks like the answer is no. And now you have a banged up Nussmeier, and the passing offense hasn't been as efficient as we thought it would be. Now, granted, they seem to have an improved defense, but I think Ole Miss right now is the more complete team. Ole Miss, their weakness is run defense. So if LSU can figure out a way to run the ball, then we're thinking, this might be a different story. But I don't see that. I feel like Ole Miss kind of dominates this game up front. My model projects this as -5.5 for Ole Miss.
Wow, big gap there. I like LSU +1.5. I'm not betting the game, so that tells you that I don't really like LSU +1.5. But if I had to bet it, that's the way I'd go. I really like the LSU defense, and I think this is going to be like a weird low-scoring game, and I just like LSU a little bit more in a low-scoring game because even though Nussmeier's banged up, like, grinded out games, like, I want the better quarterback, and I do think it's Nussmeier, even though he's hurt.
My model says 30-25 Ole Miss, and Trinidad Chambliss might be a real guy.
Yeah, I saw it.
Like,
saw his first start.
Feels like that's true. This feels like this might be like Trinidad Chambliss is a legitimate SEC starter. Sit down, Austin Simmons. Like, Ole Miss has their guy. And I think that we just kind of see that unfold throughout the game. I expect it to be close, obviously. But I just think the running game for LSU rears its ugly head. I think Nussmeier, not being healthy, makes a mistake here or there. Chambliss keeps drives going with his legs. It just feels like it's setting up well for Ole Miss.
Joined by Zack Gray at ZG The Grapevine on X. Follow him there. Check out the Patreon link in his bio. It'll take you to his Patreon, where he sells tools to help you make better bets. That game, very fascinating. Auburn A&M, this kind of feels like, I don't know, like, I think A&M is better than Auburn. With that being said, Auburn is definitely much improved from last year to this year. And Texas A&M is Texas A&M. And it'd be the most A&M thing ever for them to lose this game. What do you kind of think about Auburn and A&M?
I just don't think that this is your father's A&M. I think Elko kind of has tightened up that program. Yeah. I think he's got the culture where he needs it to be. I think he's got the guys that he wants now. I think those two transfer receivers have really made a big difference. It looks like Marcel Reed's made a step, and I just don't trust Jackson Arnold right now. Just the way that he passed down so many throws and took those sacks, and like there were guys open. It just doesn't seem like he's processing. It just seems like Auburn, this feels like that teetering point for Auburn. I think Josh Pate said something similar as well. Like I expect Texas A&M to win and cover here, and it's kind of put the final nail in the coffin in the Hugh Freeze era. I think they're improved. I think they're better, but I think Texas A&M is a legit contender in the SEC. Auburn's better. They just needed this season last year, so they're a year late. That's my take.
I agree with you. I like Mike Elko, certainly a better coach than Jimbo Fisher. Marcel Reed, I think this is year 2 of him being the starter. I agree that he's taken a step. I'm a big believer that like singular plays just have such a big impact, and like converting that 4th and goal against Notre Dame, like that's a play that can really kind of propel you through the rest of the season. And so I think that's what's going to happen. I've got questions about the A&M defense, but I do trust Mike Elko enough to fix it. So I like A&M minus 6.5 in that one. And then finally, your Buckeyes. I'm assuming you're not worried, but I talked to a guy who lives in Washington yesterday. You know, he's not biased at all. And he just kind of talked to me through Washington a little bit, a team I haven't watched a ton of. What do you kind of think of Ohio State going on the road to Washington?
With all the good games that are going on this weekend, I feel like there's been like a concerted effort here to like make this one like in that same category. Do you feel that as well?
I do. I'll be honest. I think Mississippi State versus Tennessee at 4:15 is significantly more interesting than Ohio State and Washington.
My thing is like, sure, Washington should probably be ranked, and this should be a ranked matchup, but Washington has 3 players. Like, do we think that a team with 3 guys and going against the strength of one of the best teams in the country is really going to win outright? If that's the case and Washington wins outright, I was completely wrong about what this Ohio State team is. And you know what? That's hand up. But I just don't see a path where this game gets weird. Like, there's too much talent on the defensive side of the ball for Ohio State for them to be worried about 3 guys. Like, sure, will Washington make plays? Will Damon Williams make plays and extend drives with his legs? Sure. But all of the guys that you're talking about can get matched with better athletes on the other side of the ball. And as far as the offense goes, I think Washington's defense is in trouble. I don't think that they're very good. They have some injuries in the back half of the secondary. I think Julian Sand is, you know, it's business as usual with him and Tate and Jeremiah Smith. Like, it just feels so weird. I feel like there's a lot of conjured up drama here. And when I'm looking at it and I'm looking at my model and I'm looking at the stats and going under the hood, it just doesn't seem like this game is going to be very close.
That's how I feel about it. Once again, Zack Gray, professional sports gambler. Follow him on X at ZG The Grapevine. Check out the link in his bio. It'll take you to his Patreon where he sells tools to help you make better bets. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I think there's one path to this game gets weird, and that's look, Washington's a really tough place to play. The only way it gets weird is if Julian Saint's a little shook. But even if he is, like you said, I think Ohio State has the best defense in college football. And so even if Julian Saint is a little shook early, like the defense should keep them in it. And when Julian Saint is shook, just throw the football to the best receiver in college football, like, and figure it out. So I'm with you. This is a game that I like.
Why do you think there is like this weird, and I'm close to it. So maybe maybe I'm just more close to it than everyone else, but it just feels like there's this weird vibe. Like, people are like wishing Washington like keeps this game close or wins it outright. It's just like, I just don't see the path, and people are telling me that there's a path.
I think the argument would be the home field advantage. Washington's lost 1 home game since 2021. Like, I think that's part of it. I think
How many of those are top 5 matchups?
Great question.
Against top 5 teams.
I haven't gone through it. I just know that they lost.
It's none.
Yeah.
It's 0.
So, but like, I think you'd agree, like Washington, not the easiest place to play. I think the whole first road start for Julian Sainz a little overblown because like maybe the first couple of drives it gets to him, but I do think guys settle in as the game is played. I think that's being overblown. I think people like Bush, the head coach, and I think the final part of it is Washington does score points. And so I'm with you. I like Ohio State. Maybe Washington covers, but I would honestly be surprised if that even happened.
Yeah. I don't know. Just something I wanted to get your take on as someone that's not involved, like with Ohio State or Washington. It just seemed weird.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like the line's 8.5 for a reason. That's what I got it at least. So we'll see. The 7:30 games though, these are the games that everyone should be talking about. And I want to go first on Alabama and Georgia, and then you can rip me to shreds after. Feel free. Once again, Zack Gray, professional sports gambler at ZG the Grapevine on X. I love Alabama plus 2.5. I think they win outright. Kalen DeBoer, I understand that he's lost to some unranked teams. Florida State, though, I think we can all agree, is not like a normal unranked team this year. Kalen DeBoer, undefeated against Dan Lanning, Kirby Smart, and Steve Sarkisian. The Georgia defense is not the same caliber as it was when they were winning national titles. Carson Beck, he's in Miami now. Gunnar Stockton's a gamer, but I don't think that he's some elite quarterback. I think Alabama's top to bottom, more talented. I think they're going to go in to Georgia and win. What do you think?
You're an idiot.
There it is.
You think that this Alabama team is going to walk into Georgia and win? You think that they have the toughness and the mental fortitude and the willingness to play 4 quarters against a team that wants to kill you? You think Alabama will exhibit that toughness for 4 quarters to win outright? You sound ridiculous.
I think they will. I think that there's 2 things at play from like a psychological standpoint, right? One, I think Alabama understands that if they lose again, going to be really tough to make the playoff. And I think that when you're at a program like Alabama, no one wants to be a part of the team or a part of the era that ruins the greatness that is Alabama. And I think it's really easy, for guys to get up for games like this.
I mean, I don't disagree, but do you have to actually kind of exhibit that at some point, throughout this 2 years. And every time someone punches Alabama in the mouth, they lose and they fold. You don't think Georgia's going to punch them in the mouth?
It's a valid point, and I get it. I don't know, man. I just kind of refuse to believe, and maybe this is going to be my fault. I just think Kalen DeBoer is going to have those guys ready. I think he's a good big game coach. I think this is a big game. And what about from a talent perspective? When you look at the dudes on Alabama's roster, they're more than talented enough to go in there to go in there and win. Do you at least agree? Do you at least agree with that?
I mean, I guess, but we've seen that same roster be more talented and lose already.
You think they were more talented last year?
I'm talking about the Florida State game. They went on the road. They went on the road again and were the more talented team and got their butt kicked. That happened, and we can't throw that away.
Agreed. I think Florida State's really good though. And Gus Malzahn
better
was
than Georgia.
I don't know, man. I also think that Gus Malzahn was just born to beat Alabama.
I think that's a little bit overblown, but I think that to say that Alabama if talent is your point here, I think you're in trouble. There has to be something more than that because it's also a bet on Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a really good coach. I get it. That's even more crazy.
I get it. He's lost unranked games, but he was before getting to the dude just didn't lose college football games very often. His record between his time at, the lower levels of college football and at Washington. It was absurd. And so I'm not ready to give up on the DeBoer piece of this quite yet. They beat him last year. I know last year's game was really weird because Carson Beck threw a whole bunch of picks, but I'm also not convinced that Gunnar Stockton's that guy.
Now, we do know that Georgia has the more talented roster, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like a Georgia team of old, where I just kind of expect them to grind people into dirt,
Well, this certainly doesn't feel like an Alabama team of old.
Yeah, because it's not Nick Saban.
Yeah, but that's so. If my point here is that there has been nothing. Alabama has shown you nothing to think that they can walk into Georgia and win. Now, if they have some track record of getting up for big games, like you said, and going and winning road games like this, sure. But this would be unprecedented for Kalen DeBoer's Alabama era.
It would be. It absolutely would be. And I knew that this is why you would disagree with me. Like when you look at them last year, they won. I wouldn't even call that a tough road game when they went on the road and beat LSU last year. Aside from that, I think they lost. No, they beat Wisconsin. But they lost a bunch of their other road games.
They lost at Vandy.
They did. They did lose at Vandy. And so I don't know, man. Like I like this Alabama team. I just don't want to give up on them quite yet. And so I'm gonna take them plus 2.5 on the road against Georgia.
You're getting a little gassed off of UL Monroe and Wisconsin.
I don't think that's it. I like the roster. I like DeBoer, and that's really what it comes down to.
A better quarterback?
Do I think Simpson's a better quarterback? I think he's more talented. Which I know that's a runaround way of not answering your question. So I'll answer it directly. Yes, I do.
Fair. Okay. My thing is just like, I think they're both. Are they both seniors? I think they're both seniors that are just now getting their first chance to play. I think it's a toss up there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I really like the DeBoer stat of he's undefeated against, Lanning, Sark, and Kirby. And like I said, I think he's a good big game coach. I think he's going to have something a little extra in the bag here for the game. And so I like him. I'm going to take him.
Hold on. I just realized something.
Yes.
You're using a generational Washington roster to count one game against Sarkisian and 2 games against Lanning, with Michael Penix, Roma Dunze, Jalen Polk. Like, that was like the stars aligned type of roster.
He's 6-0 total between the three.
You're going to be the last person off of the life raft of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Like,
probably.
I'm just warning you.
Probably. Joined by Zack Gray, professional sports gambler at ZG The Grapevine on X. Follow him there. Check out the link in his bio. It'll take you to his Patreon where he sells tools to help you make better bets. Last game of the night, Oregon versus Penn State. I will let you go first on this game.
Boy, I hate both of these teams a lot.
Okay.
What I want is chaos, and I think chaos means Penn State loses. So in my heart of hearts, I think Oregon wins this game. Do I think there's a path for Penn State to somehow pull this out? Yes, I think Oregon wins this game. I think Penn State, I don't trust Drew Aller at all. I don't trust James Franklin at all. I don't trust year one Jim Knowles defense at all. I think Oregon's going to win this game, and they might do it pretty convincingly.
Well, this got boring because I completely agree. Here's my holdup with Penn State. And I think it's a very fair question to ask. The argument for them this year was they're bringing like everybody back, right? Returning like 16 or 22 starters. Here's the issue. Their best offensive player last year now plays for the Colts. Their best defensive player last year was the number 3 overall pick by the Giants. And they haven't played a tough enough schedule for me to know if they've replaced those guys, whether that's with multiple dudes or they have a new stud. And like when people argued for Ohio State last year, but they brought in Jeremiah Smith, who did just fine replacing Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think it's a little bit different. Oregon's just they're just really good. Dante Moore is awesome. You were right on that. I overreacted to the 1 year at UCLA, but before the year started. So I will give you your props there. I agree with you on Drew Aller. I don't trust him at all. Dan Lanning, I do think is a better coach than James Franklin. And if there's anyone who's going to have his team ready to go into Penn State and win a night game, it is absolutely Dan Lanning.
I think you make an incredible point on everyone coming back for Penn State, because everyone compared it to the 22 Michigan team, last year's Ohio State team. And you're 100% right. The reason why it was such a big deal with those teams is because the actual best players came back.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge point that people are missing.
Yeah. And it's like, and look, like, don't get me wrong. Like, you know, when people say that Penn State has the best backfield in the country, they're probably right. Maybe. I don't know. I don't like Drew Aller that much.
So overrated.
I agree.
I think that's so overrated. I think we've heard about Katron Allen and Nick Singleton for 4 years now. And like, what are, like, they're good. Are they, do they scare you? I've never, as an Ohio State fan, I've never went into a Penn State game scared of either of those guys. The only thing that's worried me is their defense. Like, offensively, I just don't think they're going to be able to do enough to win this game.
And that's how I feel about it. Like, I do think the Penn State defense is good again. The Oregon defense is obviously really good again. The Uyunglele kid at linebacker is just an absolute monster. But the difference, I think, is going to be Dante Moore is just better than Drew Aller. I've heard two people, one guy at Elite 11 and Todd McShay, both just point blank be like, Dante Moore's the best quarterback in college football. And those are two guys who have, you know, opinions that I respect. So, and if you watched him, like, I get it, the schedule hasn't been tough for Oregon, but he looks significantly better than Drew Aller.
The only thing you could say for Penn State is, like, they have to win this game. Like, there's a certain level of desperation I feel like Penn State has to play with. And I expect them to, you know, play fast, play hard. Like, I just don't know if they have enough to beat Oregon. So there is that element of, like, holy crap, Penn State has to win this game or the heat is going to go all the way up. I'm not talking about, like, hot seat for Franklin. I'm saying people are just going to rip Penn State. Oh, this is the same team, same issues, same everything. And now they're backs against the wall. If this Penn State team doesn't make the playoff this year, that place is going to burn.
And I'm glad you brought up Penn State missing the playoff, because I do think that is very much on the table. I'm going to pull up their schedule real quick. So I think they lose on Saturday. I know they play Indiana later in the year. While I don't think Indiana is going to be good enough to go on the road and beat Oregon, I do think that they have a better chance of going on the road and beating Penn State. I'll let you rebuttal that if you want while I look for their schedule.
Penn State plays Indiana and Ohio State.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, and like they're not winning at the Horseshoe against Ohio State. They get Indiana at home, but I think you would agree Indiana's better this year than they were last year.
Penn State is going to wipe the floor with Indiana. I'm not worried about that game.
Okay. So, but I mean, go ahead.
I think that two losses with this schedule, and your best win is Indiana. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are 10-2 that have better wins, especially in the SEC. Like, now a 10-2 Penn State probably still gets in, but it's still a failure considering the expectations coming in.
Yeah, they would have to pull an Ohio State last year. You go 10-2, but then you make a run either to the national title game or you win it. Because I think you would agree Ohio State going 10-2 last year and being an 8 seed regular season wise felt like a bit of an underachievement.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm looking at this schedule. You're not going to beat Ohio State at home. You already have 2 losses. You're probably beat up. Then you have to play Indiana, and that's going to be like a Super Bowl for Indiana. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. But I want it to happen.
Yeah, dude. Penn State goes 9-3. James Franklin gets fired. He's the new head coach at the University of Arkansas next year.
He's not going to get fired, and that's the best thing about Penn State is that they're never going to get rid of him.
Yeah, I just, in Penn State's defense, who are you going to go hire that's better than James Franklin?
No one.
What about, this is a dumb question, but I'm asking anyway.
Matt Campbell?
Dabo Swinney?
No. Dabo would never come to Penn State.
I don't think he would either. I don't know what they're going to do with him. They're going to give him one more year.
Matt Campbell would. Matt Campbell would come to Penn State.
Yeah, I don't know. He's been. How long has he been at Iowa State for?
A long time, but if Penn State comes knocking, I guarantee you he takes that.
He should. Even though it's got to be nice to go like 7-5 or 8-4 every year and make as much money as he does.
They don't go 7-5 and 8-4 every year. They just won 11 games last year.
Yeah, like last year was their first year winning, I think, 11 games in their history.
Yeah, and they've had a couple other times where they've won 10.
Yeah, I feel like
why are you hating on Matt Campbell right now?
I feel like the Iowa State cycle is like 8-4 consistently, and then like once every 3 or 4 years they have a year where they win 10 games. That's what I feel like the Iowa State cycle is.
They do a better version of the Pat Fitzgerald Northwestern teams.
Yes, that is.
Instead of 2-10 in the off years, it's 8-4.
Yeah, and that's what I meant. But yeah,
that's good though.
It is
Iowa
good,
State.
especially at Iowa State.
Matt Campbell strays.
I'm not. I love Matt Campbell.
I did not get on here. I did not get on here expecting you to be a Matt Campbell hater.
I'm not a Matt Campbell hater.
Penn State, Oregon.
I like Matt Campbell. I think he's a good coach. Anyway,
I can't believe you right now.
Okay. I have to do a wellness check. How are we after Joe Burrow's going to miss the 3 months?
You just got to find a way to be like 6-6 when he gets back.
Starting 2-0 is big. Yeah.
Yes. That's crazy how that works. And I know that I've been preaching that from the high heavens. Like, that 2-0 start is huge. Like, you just have to figure out a way to get to 5-7, 6-6 by the time he gets back and just hope. I'm so sick of being in that scenario, though. Like, I can just see it right now. You know, Burrow's back. We're 6-7. We're on the wrong side of the in the hunt graphic during the Chiefs game at 425. That's just going to hurt. I can just see it already.
Zack Gray, at ZG the Grapevine on X, professional sports gambler, joining the show. Follow him on X. Check out the Patreon linked in his bio where he sells tools to help you make better bets. I want to run my Colts take by you, and then I will let you go. So, like, the Colts start 2-0, and I hear people like Nick Wright compare the 2025 Colts to the 2024 Saints, who went 5-12 last year. And then they beat the Titans in very dominant fashion, and they start 3-0. And yesterday, I hear Rich Eisen compare the 2025 Colts to the 2021 Panthers, who started 3-0 and finished 5-12. I think that's insane. The Colts remind me of like a Major League Baseball hitter who's hitting like 400 through the first, 2 weeks of the season. And like, he's not going to hit 400 all year, but he's going to regress and hit like 290 because he's got a good swing and he controls the zone well. I just think that the Colts have the right things to be able to keep winning even when they do regress, because they're not going to punt one time every 3 weeks for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think the Colts have a complete roster. I do. I think that I don't think that I'm going to put them in the driver's seat in the AFC, but I definitely think they're firmly a playoff team. I just don't know the ceiling with Daniel Jones yet. I'm not going to overreact.
Agreed.
I think was it last year where the Saints scored on like their first 13 drives or something.
Yes.
So we've kind of seen this before. Like, I think that their roster is good. I like the completeness of it. I look up and down the roster. I don't see too many holes. And yeah, I think they're a good team. I don't think they're great, but I think you're right. I think they're definitely going to keep winning.
Yeah, they're going to go 10-7, 11-6, win the AFC South, maybe win a playoff game, depending on who they play against. And Colts fans will be happy about it because they haven't made the playoffs in 4 years. I got to run. Zach, thank you for doing 41 minutes. I kept you probably way too long, but this was fun, as it always is. Thanks for your time, man.
See you, Jake Smith. Appreciate it.
You got it. Zack Gray, at ZG The Grapevine on X. Go follow him there. Does a great job giving out sports bets. We love having him on because he helps us make money. So go and check him out. More thoughts on Colts, Rams in 4 minutes.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Big thanks to Zack Gray for hopping on the show. We are going to do a Saturday night college football recap over on the My Take Is YouTube page, so you can head over there. Subscribe to that if you want more of Zack Gray and I. Colts going on the road Sunday to take on the Rams, and I want them to win this game so badly. Like, I'm so sick of people just, like, questioning the validity of this 3-0 start for the Indianapolis Colts. Like, I don't want to be the guy that says every game for Daniel Jones and the Colts is a prove-it game. But this feels like another prove-it game. But it's a little bit different. You know, week one, they're playing the Dolphins, and if you don't beat them, then you're probably not going to be very good because the Dolphins are bad. And then, you know, they beat them 33-8, and everyone's like, but the Dolphins are terrible. And so they beat a good Broncos team, hang, 32 points or whatever it ended up being on a good Broncos defense, and they win. And everyone's like, you got lucky, the leveraging penalty. It's like, okay. So then they go on the road, and they crush the Titans. Game was never in question. And everyone's like, it's the Titans. You have 3 wins, but the teams you've beaten, their combined record is 1-8. The Dolphins are competing for, and the Dolphins and Titans are competing for the number 1 overall pick. And, Broncos, they're underachieving. Maybe they're not that good. All that kind of stuff. And it's just ridiculous. So now the Colts are going on the road to play against a legitimately good Rams team who could be 3-0 if they just do a better job blocking Jordan Davis last week on that game-winning field goal attempt. Matthew Stafford, elite quarterback, the best one that they've played all year, the Colts. And there's a lot to like about the Rams defense, especially that front seven. This is a chance for the Colts to silence the haters because the haters are everywhere. They are running wild, okay? There are still murmurs that this isn't real. The Colts start 2-0 and not everyone, but a lot of people compare them to the 2024 Saints who started 2-0 and finished 5-12. And then now they start 3-0. And yesterday I heard Rich Eisen. I saw a clip. I don't know if he said this yesterday. I saw a clip of him being like 3-0 for the Colts kind of feels like when the Panthers went 3-0 in 2021 and they finished 5-12. I am not an expert. I thought that the Colts were going to be mediocre this year, float around 500, 7 wins, 8 wins, somewhere in there. But this Colts team is clearly not going to go 5-12 like the two teams that I continuously hear them compared to. The way that they've run the football, the way that Daniel Jones has ran the offense, this is clearly not a bad team. They will absolutely regress. Okay, like they're not going to average 1 punt every 3 games. Like that's not going to happen. They're going to turn the football over at some point. Okay, like that's going to happen. But they still have a good offense. They still have a good secondary when it's healthy. They've still got good players in the middle with DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. They're still very well coached. Shane Steichen, good play caller. Lou Anarumo is, one of the best defensive coordinators in football by reputation, and he's lived up to that reputation so far this season. Okay, like there's a decent chance that the Colts double or triple their punt total on Sunday. But they're still going to put up points. The Colts to start the season remind me of like a Major League Baseball player who starts the year hitting like 400 through like the first 2 weeks. But he's got a good swing. He's controlling the zone well. And even though you know that he's going to regress, you still expect for the guy to hit, 290 to 300 because he clearly has a nice swing. Meanwhile, there are other Major League Baseball players who start the year off really hot, hitting 400, but you know that they're going to hit 230 because they're a wild swinger. They don't control the zone, and they struggle with like the inside fastball or something like that. And they've just gotten a little lucky. They've seen a lot of hanging, breaking balls, and teams are throwing them away, and they're capitalizing on those. But you can see the holes in the swing and the holes in the approach to know that they're only going to hit 230. That's the reality of it, right? The Colts, they're the hitter that hits 400 and then finishes the year at 290, okay? Because the bones of the offense are good. Daniel Jones is not going to make every throw all season, and he's going to turn the ball over at some point. Jonathan Taylor is going to fumble the football at some point this season, okay? Like, they're going to turn it over. They're not going to commit 0 turnovers through all 17 weeks, okay? And even when those things happen, when the turnovers happen, and Jonathan Taylor, isn't averaging 5.1 yards per carry, and Daniel Jones misses a couple of throws here and there, the offense is still going to be effective because the bones of it are good. Good offensive line, good weapons. They can run the football, right? They have a good play caller. They have a quarterback who can run the offense, right? Like, if people are questioning this Colts team, it should not be about the offense. It should not be about Daniel Jones. It should be about the defense, because that offense has everything that it needs to be successful. If you wanted to tell me that the Colts were going to go 5-12, which is absurd, then your argument would have to be based on this defense. Okay? That's it. Colts going on the road to play the Rams. I think they lose, but they cover those 3.5 points, and I think they play a really tough game out west in LA. Indiana, Iowa tomorrow, 3:30. Indiana's the better team. They should absolutely roll. Okay, maybe they struggle a little bit offensively here and there because the Iowa defense is really good. But the best part about watching Coach Cignetti coached IU football teams is they are incredibly disciplined and they don't beat themselves. The reality of this game is Indiana is one of the 10 best football teams in the country, and Iowa is not. The only way Indiana loses this game is if they beat themselves, and Coach Cignetti coached teams do not beat themselves. They're not going to commit dumb penalties. They're not going to turn the football over. They're not going to give up big plays, right? And if they do give up a big play, it's because they blitzed and the other team just called like a well-timed screen. It's never because they have like a coverage bust or any sort of self-inflicted mistake. When you go through the 2 losses that Coach Cignetti has suffered at Indiana, they have been because Ohio State, Notre Dame was just better than Indiana. That was the reality of it. It wasn't like they went in there and they beat themselves. I expect them to roll tomorrow and just kind of have their will and do whatever they want against this Iowa team that just doesn't have the talent or the quarterback play to beat this Indiana Hoosier roster. That's going to do it here on The Real Jonathan Smith Show. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Okay, I hope you get to sit on your couch and watch college football in the Ryder Cup all day tomorrow. And then I hope on Sunday you get to sit on your couch and watch the Ryder Cup and NFL football all day Sunday. Okay, don't let anything get in the way of your football watching activities this weekend. There are very few weekends like this in the fall where there's just good game after good game after good game. Do not waste it. Okay, sit on your couch, get in that nice little butt groove that I know you've carved out for yourself. I know exactly where I'm sitting, and watch football and have a blast while you do it. Okay, errands with your wife, do them next weekend. I'm laughing because I know it's going to happen at my house. So have a good weekend. Thank you so much for tuning into the show, no matter how you tuned in. YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, go and subscribe. If you want more from me, you can go check out the My Take Is YouTube page. Then the Dan Dockett Show, it's coming your way next. It's a loaded show. Johnny Damon at 12:30 talking baseball. Rob Dibble at 1 o'clock talking Reds. And then we've got our Iowa correspondent, Chris Hassel, formerly with ESPN. He does a bunch of Iowa sports stuff now. He's going to join the show at 1:30 to break down Iowa, Indiana. Great loaded Dan Dockett Show, and it's coming your way here in about 4.5 minutes.